Ready? Welcome to the June Ordinary Council meeting of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that this meeting is being streamed live to the internet. All those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements, and upon joining these online meetings, you accept the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I open the June Ordinary Council meeting, the time being 5:31 p.m. First up, we will have the prayer delivered by Councillor Butler.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pray. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this wonderful day. Thank you for bringing us together to deliberate today on all these issues. Father, I do ask for your wisdom. Thank you that you are the source of all wisdom, and we're glad that you grant it to us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next up, acknowledgement of country delivered by Councillor Ryan.
Thanks. Look, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we meet tonight, being the Dubbo people of the Wiradjuri Nation. I want to pay my respects to elders, both past, present and emerging. But most of all, I'd like to extend my respect to everyone that's here tonight in attendance. No matter what your nationality is or where you come from, tonight we all come together and sit as one. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have leave of absence. I have a request for leave of absence from Councillors Cowley and Wells. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Ivey. Could governance please open the voting? Councillors, please cast your votes. Just hit refresh. Carried unanimously. Next, we have conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts to declare? I do, which is item 13.2, tender evaluation supply of hire of light vehicles, plant and equipment. It's a non-pecuniary significant interest, and I will leave the room, and that's as an extended family member has submitted a tender when we get up to that one. 4. We now have public forum. I'll run through the rules for public forum. Each speaker will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. When you come forward to speak, please state your name and the matter that you wish to speak on. When there's 30 seconds remaining, you'll hear the bell rung. At 5 minutes, the bell will be rung multiple times, the microphone will be turned off, and you will conclude speaking. Gallery members must refrain from making any disruptive noises, clapping, jeering, or any other disruptive behaviour. I now call forward the following registered speakers, and please introduce yourself and the item that you are speaking on. We've got Amy True first up.
Good evening, everyone. I believe it's item 10.1, which is DA 2026-123, the advertising structure at 61 Wheelers Lane. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight and for the Planning Department's recommendation to approve this application. So I'll just begin with a brief introduction to us and an overview of the advertising industry. So out of our home, advertising has seen a significant growth over the past decade as audiences have moved away from traditional media channels such as radio, TV and print and towards digital and streaming. But we've seen road audiences grow and more advertisers are following that trend and investing in billboards and signage media. Gork, the company, was established 8 years ago and solely focuses on regional Australia. We now operate over 80 digital advertising signs with 25 across regional New South Wales. And Dubbo is a market that we strongly believe in, as evidenced by our existing sign on Cabora Road. What makes us different from other industry providers is our commitment to local content. Our signs aren't built to be dominated by national advertisers. They're built to give the local cafe a space for the morning specials, the real estate agent to promote their new listings, and the local schools to reach their communities. Our boards are cost-effective, modern advertising channels that have simply not been available to Dubbo until now. And we have proven this model works in other regional towns. We've got Singleton, Rutherford, Orange, Griffith, but the Dubbo launch last year has been our most successful ever. So as I mentioned before, our existing sign on Cabora Road was sold by local businesses within 3 hours of our team arriving in town, so all slots filled. And we have received over 100 inbounds and inquiries for this market by local businesses. And we have a wait list extending into the next 24 months for space. So that's your own economy telling you what it wants. Our current businesses on our sign include Ray White Real Estate, Dubbo RSL, Petrie's Mighty 10, Mags, Mars Group, Dubbo Automotive, Yillabara, New South Wales Aboriginal Land Council, Blue Ridge Support, NDIS Support, and Charles Sturt University. We have also had interest from Council's very own tourism department, which speaks to the breadth of local organisations who see value in this platform. This is the existing local confidence we have in this market, and this new sign simply extends that opportunity to more businesses who are already on the waitlist. We understand that Council has moved to change the LEP in relation to this type of development, particularly in industrial zoning. What I would ask you to keep in mind is that this is a heavily industrial precinct with no sensitive interfaces and no realistic impact on surrounding land uses, and the planning department has assisted on this basis and recommended for approval. The alternative, so a refusal, carries its own further consequences. It would disappoint the local businesses who are demanding for another advertising opportunity. As we have seen in other matters through the court case as well, it's more controversial to refuse a well-supported application in a suitable location than just to approve it. It would also cost over $120,000 defending this decision in the courts, which is ratepayer money. So the ratepayers who are desperately wanting this sign. We respectfully ask that you support the planning officer's decisions tonight for recommendation and give Dubbo's local businesses the advertising platform they already told us they want. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Peter Reardon.
Thank you, Peter Reardon, Chair of the Save Geary Stop Bory Solar, about 9.2 and 9.4. I'd like to thank Councillor Chowdhury to put forward the motion tonight later on the updated report for the cumulative studies from the New South Wales Government. That's a really good move. We support the motion with the understanding that the specific area between Wellington and Dubbo is considered for any SIA into the future. And given the poor engagement by Venn Energy on the Boree solar project, we have no faith or trust in that proponent. And they didn't even tell the people they were interviewing in the scoping study report that they were being involved, that those people were being involved in a social review. So that's how poor they are. It's going to be another ticker box process. With that in mind, we've actually engaged our own specialist, Dr. Richard Parsons. He's an award-winning social specialist. He's actually just been over to Europe to pick up an award. He's been doing some training for Essential Energy, so he's at the top in his field, and we've got him engaged to do some work for us independently. Okay, between Wellington and Dubbo, we're quite aware of all of the projects. We're getting an extraordinary concentration of projects now between Wellington and Dubbo. We're all aware of it, like with Wellington North, Maryvale being constructed. The new Geary one just outside of town is being constructed. And you've got all these other projects like, Hampton Park, Boree, the 132 kV lines are being upgraded. Even to the point where even Essential Energy are saying now that once they're upgraded, there's going to be another 11 solar projects between Wellington and Dubbo potentially. That's the capacity. And that's not even including the wind farms, and it's not even including the potential for data centres. There's already someone fishing around Geary for a data centre. So we're seeing the cumulative impacts now of multiple projects in our area. The industrialisation of Geary is just beyond a joke, okay? So any meaningful cumulative impact assessment must go beyond the environmental and infrastructure considerations. It should also examine the social impacts on local communities, the effect on small rural communities and villages, and the mental health and well-being impacts on residents living amongst this increased concentration of renewable energy projects. The New South Wales Government has indicated they have done some cumulative impact statements and assessments, but it's typically more to do with Energy Co and their area within the RES, and some of these other areas like between Wellington and Dubbo get missed. So we support the motion to get an updated report, I guess, as long as it includes any sort of social impact assessments between Dubbo and Wellington, which includes all of these projects, including another potentially 11 along the way. For agenda item 9.4, with regarding VPA, so I'd also like to thank Councillor Ivey for putting forward that motion. We support Councillor Ivey's motion with respect to, I guess, increasing the rates associated with these VPAs. Dubbo Regional Area deserves to get its full money's worth out of these benefits. And I guess the cost of business needs to be clear to these proponents so they can include that in their financial assessments. Okay, so it's a good move. As a mechanism, I guess, though, some of the community does get really concerned about the VPA process in that it's voluntary, it's not mandatory. And given the relatively low levels of money that does come through from the VPA process, as compared to hundreds of millions of dollars that are actually, invested by these companies, it's just seen by the community as shiny trinkets and really a way of buying social license. So we just got to be really mindful that with these VPAs, that's how the community sees it. Okay. The other aspect too is just making sure that the benefits do flow back to the hosting communities and not necessarily straight into the overall Dubbo Regional Council bucket. So the mechanism there just needs to be looked at. But in principle, yeah, we do think that's a good move with respect to Ivey's motion later on tonight under 9.4. So we support 9.2 and 9.4. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Martin Simmons.
Good afternoon, councillors. Martin Simmons, President of the Dubbo Stock and Station Agents, addressing item 10.6, fees and charges. I'm here today to express concern with some of the fees and charges put forward for the new financial year, particularly the 900% increase in the cattle feeding fee. I feel moving forward, this will be a deterrent for our clients to not only send their livestock early to the sale and give them a feed and rest, it'll deter them from coming to Dubbo at all. On a personal level, our company would feed around 20,000 cattle a year prior to sale, resulting in around $300,000 in yard dues. By increasing the feeding charge by 900% and trying to generate an extra $18,000, you run the risk of losing those stock coming to Dubbo. We strongly suggest to our clients travelling livestock long distances to get them here early and allow them time for a feed and a spell. If they were to try and avoid the charge and send their livestock on a Wednesday, the day prior to sale, this would raise serious animal welfare issues. Surely receiving $300,000 in yard dues is a lot more lucrative than turning numbers away due to the rising costs. This looks like double dipping and greed on the council's behalf. Our clients have other means to market their livestock, whether that is direct sales to abattoirs and feedlots where there are no yard dues, or an online platform like Auctions Plus, where the sale fees are half the price of yard dues, no transport costs, and certainly no feeding charges. We have worked so hard to build and promote the reputation of the Dubbo regional livestock markets, yet we feel the council continue to put roadblocks in our way to grow the place even further by punishing the exact people who support it the most, our clients, by continuing to increase fees and charges. We would hate to get to the point where you've gone to the well one too many times. The transit stock continued to be an issue at the DRLM. We are having thousands of cattle pass through the establishment each year, stopping off on their way to other destinations, all for the small fee of $2 a head. I know other centres charge as much as a full yard due to stop off at their yards. Why wouldn't you consider increasing their charge and leave our producers alone, who are already contributing so much financially to the Dubbo regional livestock markets? In closing, I'd like to make a point that I think it is in the Dubbo Regional Council's best interest to stop worrying about what other sales centres are doing and focus on what we are doing, because I can assure you everyone else is looking at Dubbo's next move. We have become the benchmark in the industry, and I'd like it to stay that way. I've told this story a few times now. I recently attended an industry event in Sydney which attracted some of the biggest names in our industry, and the talk of the room was all the good things happening at the Dubbo regional livestock markets. Let's not spoil the progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jane Menzies.
Thank you again for allowing me to speak. And I really wanted to mention Councillor Black's, what you brought up the other week about gardens on verges. So I wanted to really just speak about that, but I'll give you a weather report first. This week in the Northern Hemisphere, it's experiencing an extreme early summer heat wave with temperatures pushing past 40 degrees. In the last week, Western Europe shattered over 300 all-time heat records. The UK Met Office issued unprecedented red alerts for temperatures up to 38 degrees, and temperatures in France broke all seasonal records for summer. A red heat alert was declared on June 21st across 8 cities, and temperatures in Spain soared towards 40 degrees. An El Nino effect has been declared for Australia over the coming months. Yes, this is a natural phenomenon. Some of the features, however, are exacerbated by climate change. The BOM expects a higher likelihood of consecutive hot days and severe heat waves, and increased bushfire risk and storm variability. As I mentioned last week, we're not preparing for climate change, we're experiencing it. Our Mayor, Councillor Black, last week mentioned a number of residents had approached him with the idea of planting out their verges. There are a number of councils that have adopted this practice. They typically mandate height limits, keeping plants under 50 to 75 centimetres, must allow a continuous pedestrian path, usually no rocks, concrete, fixed structures or fake turf, which can increase temperatures by 80 to 100%. Bellingen Council has a verge planting guide that involves filling out a Roads Act application form and including a plan of your garden. No trees are to be planted. It is the owner's responsibility to check for services or risk the garden being removed. If your garden provides important environmental benefits like pollinator corridors or communal food growing, you may be eligible to apply for funding through their council's Environmental Levy Community Fund program. The Central Coast also requires approval for trees, which the council will plant for you, but you are required to maintain. For those planting shrubs, grasses and ground covers, no council approval is required, providing they use native or endemic plants not above 700 mils. They're required to be 600 mils from the road for car doors to open and a metre clearance around letterboxes, no raised beds, organic mulch, notify their neighbours. Dubbo shouldn't be left behind on this. Our residents are asking for permission to help cool our city, beautify our streets and take practical climate action at their own doorstep. I urge the council to look at these successful models, draft a sensible state verge, safe, sorry, it's my own writing, it's no AI, safe verge gardening policy for Dubbo, and urge the community to dig in. And thank you to Mayor Black for bringing it up.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Colleen Dwyer.
Colleen Dwyer. I'm a resident of the Ben Cubbon Estate. I'll be speaking on item 9.4, renewable energy voluntary planning agreements. And may I say my statement aligns with and is in support of Councillor Chowdhury's motion 9.2. Mayor and councillors, Dubbo Regional Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. I apologise for not having my T-shirt on, but I left it in the pub after the last Wellington DRC meeting, and no one's returned it. I recognise that the proposal to strengthen resident compensation and council benefit within voluntary planning agreements is a positive and necessary step. If council is to receive substantial financial contributions from renewable energy proponents, then it is only fair and reasonable that those funds directly support the communities who bear the greatest burden. Compensation, when properly structured, can help address localised impacts, provide meaningful support to affected households, and ensure that the benefits of development are shared more equitably. However, while the notice of motion focuses narrowly on increasing benefit sharing payments through inflation adjustments, it does not address the far more significant issue facing our region, the cumulative social, environmental and agricultural impacts of large-scale renewable energy developments across the Dubbo Regional Council area. Communities are not simply asking for more money, they are asking for recognition of the profound and accelerating transformation of rural landscapes throughout the proliferation of solar and wind factories, battery storage facilities and transmission infrastructure. The real issue is not the size of the cheque, it is whether the scale, density and concentration of these developments is appropriate, sustainable and compatible with the long-term future of our region, essentially essentially the industrialisation of our rural landscape. Residents have raised serious concerns, including permanent loss and fragmentation of productive agricultural land, undermining long-term food production and agricultural viability. Cumulative impacts on farming operations, including restricted access, livestock disruption, and reduced flexibility for future land use. Significant changes to rural character and amenity, including visual impacts, heavy vehicle movements, construction disturbance, and ongoing industrial activity. Increased pressure on local roads, infrastructure, and essential services. Social impacts on affected residents, including stress, anxiety, and uncertainty about the future of their communities. The absence of comprehensive region-wide cumulative impact assessments, with each project assessed in isolation rather than as part of a rapidly expanding industrial footprint. These concerns are not abstract. They are being felt right now in areas affected by the proposed Hampton Park SESS and the Boree solar development at Geary. Council has a responsibility to ensure that the long-term economic future of the region is not compromised. Agriculture has sustained our communities for generations and will continue to do so long after today's renewable energy projects have reached the end of their operational life. Protecting strategic agricultural land must remain a priority. If Council is prepared to accept what many residents regard as compensation for the loss of productive land, changing landscapes and community disruption, then those funds must be used to deliver clear, measurable and lasting benefits, particularly for the people most affected and the communities most in need. Accordingly, I call Council to develop and publicly release a comprehensive cumulative impact assessment framework for all renewable energy developments, identify and protect strategic agricultural land from further industrial development, ensure that any VPA funds are transparently managed and directed towards essential community priorities, prioritise the allocation of VPA funds to affordable and social housing initiatives, including emergency accommodation and support services for people experiencing homelessness in the Dubbo region. The discussion before Council should not be limited to how much money can be extracted from renewable energy proponents. The real question is whether the cumulative cost to communities, productive farmland, and future generations is being properly recognised, assessed, and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Gargi Ganguly.
Thank you, councils. I rise in support of this motion 9.3 as an opportunity to ensure that our public spaces reflect the rich diversity of the Dubbo region. For many people from a cultural and linguistic backgrounds have contributed significantly to the social, economic, cultural, and civic life of our community. This proposal does not seek to change or diminish our existing heritage. Rather, it invites the council to consider how future naming opportunities can better tell the story of those who have helped shape Dubbo into the welcoming and vibrant regional city it is today. Inclusive recognition fosters a sense of belonging, particularly for newer communities, and sends a powerful message that everyone who contributes is valued and acknowledged. I commend Councillor Chaudhary for bringing this thoughtful and forward-looking motion to the council. For someone who has called Dubbo home for over 25 years, I have seen firsthand how recognition and belonging strengthen community cohesion. Seeing our diverse histories reflected in the places we share would be a meaningful step towards ensuring that future generations understand Dubbo's story that is enriched by many cultures, traditions, and journeys. Thank you.
Thank you. There is some time remaining in the public forum time slot. Is there anyone else in the gallery that would like to step forward and speak now? Yep. Just say your name and your item and hop up into it. Mr. Dwyer, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors, for your indulgence. Speaking to motion 9.4, Councillors, while we understand Councillor Ivy's goal in ensuring the council gains compensation and increased revenue from installation of the proposed Hampton Park Solar and SESS and others, including the proposed Boree Solar project, along with all the others that will pop up like mushrooms in the LGA, the residents of Ben Coven Estate would ask that an additional recommendation be added to this motion. That is, further requests that in negotiating, I didn't spend much time getting this ready, Mr Mayor, but we'll go ahead. In negotiating VPOs for the Hampton Park SESS proposals, council seek the inclusion of appropriate compensation or mitigation measures for residents directly affected by the installations, ensuring that local impacts are fairly recognised and addressed. The inclusion of a requirement for appropriate compensation or mitigation measures within future voluntary planning agreements is justified on the basis that several large-scale renewable energy proposals, specifically Hampton Park Solar, SESS and Boree Solar project at Geary, are expected to generate direct and measurable impacts on the nearby residents. While the New South Wales Benefit Sharing Guideline provides a framework for community-wide contributions, it does not explicitly address household-level impacts, such as visual intrusion, construction disturbance, noise, traffic movements, and cumulative amenity loss. Given the scale and proximity of these developments to established rural communities, it is reasonable for council to seek tailored resident compensation or mitigation measures as part of the negotiated VPAs. This approach aligns with council's responsibility to advocate a fair and proportionate outcome for affected residents, ensures that localised impacts are acknowledged and addressed, and strengthens the council negotiating position by establishing a clear and transparent policy expectation for proponents. Now, just for a moment, I'd like to digress and hark back to some comments made during debate at the previous council meeting on renewable energy, where it was suggested that the VPAs could contribute to an increase in tourism, particularly in the Wellington area. I can assure you that the best way to contribute to tourism in the Dubbo LGA is to oppose the industrial onslaught. Wellington has become known as that place where the solar factories and wind farms are. In fact, I had a client this week request that their property not be advertised as Wellington, but a sub-region of the area, due to the fact that those away from Wellington consider Wellington to be the place of solar factories and wind turbines. And they believe, these clients of mine believe, that being advertised at Wellington would affect the property's perceived value. This continued encouragement of renewable energy to this area is coming home to roost, with the bad publicity it brings with it, as the previous example shows. Councillors, be careful what you wish for with VPAs, and don't be seen sitting in the corner milking the cash cow while the LGA you are elected to represent goes to the dogs.
Thank you. There's enough time for one more speaker, should there be anyone. Jacob Perry was first.
Thank you, councillors. Mayor, I just want to speak on item 10.5, and I'm actually appalled that I'm speaking on this item. The last thing the residents of this LGA need right now is a 3% rate rise. I think we've well and truly done our part in making this council area a better place, and our residents shouldn't be treated as cash cows. If council can't find the money to pay for its services, maybe we could hire a grants officer to start finding the grants so our ratepayers don't have to constantly be hit with special rate variations to pay for certain items around the LGA. We've had rate hikes for the convention centre. We've had rate hikes for various other projects. I think enough is enough. And it wouldn't be too far out of council's budget to hire a grants officer to chase additional money that we need. The other thing too that I'd like to make a point on is if we're going to be hosting and encouraging renewable solar factories to this LGA, it's time they start getting rated as such. Dougal Saunders declares these things modern power stations, and we are not generally, as a historical rule, a power producing area like Lithgow, Muswellbrook or Lake Macquarie, who, by their own negotiations, can charge those assets in their LGAs a decent sum of money. So Lithgow, Lake Macquarie, they'd probably make good money out of industrial assets like Eraring or Mount Piper. We are getting shafted, unfortunately, and if you don't think we're getting shafted, have a look at Seatonville Road. That's just an abomination. So I am yet to be convinced that there is endless opportunities for these projects unless they start getting charged accordingly and we see a big influx of money. But as the current status quo, I could not disagree more with the proposal to increase our rates yet again in a cost of living crisis, in the middle of a fuel crisis, and we just cannot keep affording it. Some people can probably afford a $10 rise on their rates. Other people, it's probably the difference between paying rent or not. So I just, commend the council to vote against an unnecessary 3% rate rise before looking within the organisation for improvements, and probably one of those improvements would be hire a grants officer like so many other councils around this state do. Thank you.
Due to the brevity of Mr. Perry's address there's still 1 minute to go. If anyone wants to use that last minute, yes, state your name and the topic, and there's 1 minute.
My name's Robert Shanks. I represent producers who support the Dubbo sale yards, and I'm speaking on item 10.6. Our family have been supporting the Dubbo sale yards for well in excess of 70 years. A lot of you people wouldn't realise they were originally on the other side of the railway line in West Dubbo, so we've been around a while. At the moment, the total cost of total gross income from the sale yards the council receives from the yards is made up of 95% approximately, or very close to it, all paid by producers, whether it's directly through yard dues or through agents' fees. And it's okay to say, I've heard people say we put the yard dues up, we've also put the licence fees up for the agents, but not many agents in my lifetime have ever absorbed an increase in fees. So as a producer, we're well aware that we will be paying the fees, all the increases. 12 months ago, as producers, we supported a 40% increase in yard dues for cattle, which brought the council in an additional $1 million, approximately. You can argue that if you like, but I think I'm pretty close. And the total income for that year was approximately $4 million. This year, you've already received in excess of $7 million in yard dues and licence fees up till the end of April. So you'll get $8 million or more, which is probably $3 million or $3.5 million more than you've ever received before. I don't understand why you want to start on these little bits of fees that bring you no money in relevance to what you're getting in yard dues and licence fees. All you're doing is creating a lot of upset and controversy. You're chasing 2 cents instead of getting the dollars. So all I've got to say is be very mindful. The producers have got a lot of opportunities to sell their stock away from the Dubbo yards, and if you keep increasing a lot of trivial costs, they will go elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public forum. Next, we have 5.1 minutes of the ordinary council meeting held 26 May 2026. Do I have someone to move the confirmation of those? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll ask governance to open the voting, please. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next, we have a mayoral minute moved by myself. The recommendation is as follows, that the Mayor writes to the New South Wales Premier and Treasurer to acknowledge the 2026-2027 New South Wales budget and to express a strong desire to work in partnership with the New South Wales Government to deliver the infrastructure and services required for the growing Dubbo Regional Council local government area. The rationale behind this is, as we're a growing regional centre, that there's an expanding population, there's increasing demand on critical infrastructure. There remain several key priorities that are essential to supporting our community's growth and to the long-term ambitions which have been missed in this budget, including but not limited to things such as completing Stage 2 of the Dubbo Regional Sports Hub to deliver a facility to match the scale of our growing population, additional overtaking lanes on the Mitchell Highway between Dubbo and Wellington to improve road safety and help transport efficiencies, replacement of the Scabbing Flat Timber Bridge at Geary with a modern concrete structure to meet the growing logistics and freight needs. They're just three things that I picked out off the top of my head early this afternoon after reading through the budget. So these projects represent important opportunities to enhance community wellbeing, ensure that the needs of the residents of this region are not forgotten, but they appear to have been this time. So I'm wanting to highlight that back to the government and say that we're representing our community. We need more of this investment in things that have been ongoing issues for our community. And we didn't get a whole lot this time, apart from there was some good funding, but a lot of it was re-announcements. And there seems to be a disproportionate amount of money to ensure that renewables are delivered to this area, but other things are being grossly overlooked. So that's the reason behind my notice of motion. It's important to strike while the iron's hot. That was only delivered today at 12:30, but get on the front foot back to the government and say, hey, you've had an opportunity here that you missed, but we're happy to work with you to deliver these things to our community. Thank you. Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the budget, and also noticing that there's no rescue package for businesses that have been affected since Bondi last year, that they can't decide whether or not they're going to do a buyback. So businesses like mine and other dealers are in limbo until they decide what they're going to do. We're only a small business. We've probably lost about $200,000 since December last year. I hate to think what the big businesses are actually losing, and they did promise us a rescue package.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll put that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next we have information only matters, 7.1, mayoral appointments and meetings. I'll move that, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. I'll take it as read. Any questions? There being none, we'll move that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. 7.2, mayoral expenses. I'll move that, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Thank you. I'll take that as read. Any debate, councillors? There being none, please open the voting. Carried unanimously. 7.3, monthly reporting snapshot for councillors for May 2026. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Ryan. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any debate, councillors? There being none, please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. 7.4, quarterly report on complaint statistics under Council's Code of Conduct 2025-2026, quarter 3. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any debate, councillors? There being none, please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Item 8, matters considered by committees. Unless there's an application or objection, I propose that we move the following items on block: 8.1, 8.2, 8.3 through to 8.8. Any councillor wish to speak on any item or amend anything, please let us know now before we move the whole lot in one go. There being none, is someone to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Ryan. Oh no, we're not moving, not speaking about it. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Notices of motion 9.1, entitled Report of Council Benchmarking and Resources, moved by Councillor Toynton, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is simply asking for a report to see how we stack up against other councils where we could identify more resources or efficient uses of our resources. If we're overfunded in one area or under in another area, this gives us a chance to see where improvements can be made.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I support the concept. I think it's good that we do compare our performance with like councils. I must admit, I have a problem with the wording of the motion. I would like it to see it much more specific. It actually grammatically it's not quite it's not quite correct, but it also doesn't, I don't think, give enough direction to the staff with exactly what information or the type of information that we need to come out of it. It says compare it with other councils. I mean, how many other councils? 2, 20, 120 like-minded councils or like councils? I think it would be it's a good opportunity to really get some good information specifically about the operation and efficiencies of this council. I just think that the motion as it's worded now doesn't provide that opportunity. So in that sense, while I commend the general thrust of it, I don't believe that it goes far enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Similar sentiments to Councillor Ivey. I all for trying to find some efficiencies in this council. But when you compare to other councils, other councils, have they got the same road network as us? Have they got the same strategic plan where we might have a certain investment with our staff in a certain direction, but other councils are maybe a little bit different? Population differences, economic drivers, just all really different, and subsequently councils I think will be very different from one to another, and just to try and find to nail it down as to what this looks like. Look, I'm happy to support it in principle. I hope the staff can come up with something that gives us some sort of comparison, but I guess that's one of my concerns with respect to this, that how does one council literally compare to another if they are fundamentally different with their strategic direction and population, etc.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll go back to the mover for a right of reply to anything there.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll put that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next, we have 9.2 Central West Arana Renewable Energy Zone. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to move your motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as per the business paper.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to extend my thank you all the speaker tonight. And we know, all this renewable energy, they're coming into our region, and there's nothing, we're not getting any report or anything from the New South Wales government. So my motion is pretty simple and straightforward to ask council to work with that state government to see what a study they have been done, and many of the speakers have spoken tonight, the social impact, the impact on that rural and villages, the mental health, and their financially. Everything been overlooked all this year. So I think through this motion, council will be working with this New South Wales government to bring back that report, so then our community can see what they have done, and then what we can be done in future. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, happy to support this. I guess a saturation of any industry on a particular area will have potential impacts. But just following on from a comment that Mr. Reardon made actually this evening, this specifically talks to the Central West Arana Res, and a lot of these projects aren't necessarily in Res. They are actually outside the Res zone itself. I'm just wondering, is the idea of this particular motion to consider projects that are in the whole of the LGA, not just within the zoned res?
Pass that to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, how I would be considering, obviously looking at the notice of motion, if it gets up here tonight, is basically providing a report back to Council in July on the status of any cumulative impact studies that have been prepared by the New South Wales State Government in respect of the Central West Arana Renewable Energy Zone. And you're right, Councillor Wright, like, is that the 10 projects, is that the transmission line? But I would see that basically as any cumulative impact reports that have been prepared.
Further, Councillor Wright.
Not just yet, Mr. Mayor. Thanks. I'll just sit tight for a second.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, again, I definitely support the intention of the motion. I think it's very good that we do look at that bigger picture. It's vital that we look at the bigger picture. Again, I'm sorry to be a bit pedantic, but I've just got problems with the wording of the motion. It just talks about reports prepared. So well, the motion asks that this council or the staff prepare a report on the status of reports that have been prepared. It doesn't ask us to go out and do some investigation of our own. It just says report on the reports that have been prepared by the state government. And I think what about, how about we broaden that out and say any reports that have been that are looking at the cumulative effects of this development within our LGA. And that's not just restricting to the projects that are within this LGA. What about the ones that are right on the boundary? Again, some the wind farms that are being developed that are in Mid-Western or Warrumbungles or Cabonne for that matter. So we really do need to look at reports that have been prepared dealing with the cumulative impacts and problems of renewable energy development as it affects this LGA. And I think it's vital that just gets expanded out to include those basically two factors. One, not just reports prepared by the New South Wales Government, may well be biased, who knows. But secondly, those looking at the cumulative impacts of projects that do affect this LGA. Whether or not they're in the LGA or whether they're in the res doesn't matter, but do they affect this LGA? That's what we need to look at. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah, I'm happy to support. Happy to amend that motion.
Right, some different words, slightly different wording.
Yep.
Have we got some slightly different wording that we can then put to the seconder, Councillor Wright? We haven't got it yet.
Mr. Mayor, happy to support the comments made by Councillor Ivey if they're going to add to that motion.
Right, I will get the wording first.
Councillor Ivey, if you can repeat again, please.
Just write it out, maybe.
This is a bit off the top of my head, but perhaps governance will be able to refine the wording. That a report be prepared for the July 2026 ordinary meeting of the council, including information on the status, including information on the cumulative impact of renewable energy projects have on the Dubbo local government area, Dubbo region local government area. Those reports to be any that have been prepared by state government or other bodies in relation to the impacts of renewable energy projects on our LGA. I know there's a bit of repetition there, but maybe you could refine it down.
We'll just wait a second for that to be typed up on the screen.
our local government area or on the Dubbo regional.
Right, noting this is for July and we don't want to make the scope too big. We want it to be doable. Is that right?
The profit be by July. No.
Do we want to withdraw this and come back through a workshop and then we can finesse it and move it up again next month?
I think that's a good idea, Mr. Mayor, because it is such an important aspect, and I think we really can set the scene really for statewide that we do need areas affected by renewable energy do have to have proper, in-depth social and other environmental impact statements. And so I think, that's the sort of thing that we really do need to thrash out at a workshop. It's not time critical. If we got to put it back for another month, I don't think that really matters. It's better to get it right.
We'll go to the mover, Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah, happy to support, because I think the report need to be more precise. So, we don't want to do something within rush and then we had to do again and again. Yeah, happy to support.
All right, thank you. Councillor Wright, are you happy with that? Is this
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to get it right. We're going to do it. Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you, councillors. Any other speakers on that to defer? We'll finesse it and get it right through a workshop and bring it back. I think the general sentiment was okay. All right, there it is up on the screen. It's in bold now. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes to defer. Carried unanimously. Next, we have 9.3, naming of thoroughfares and other geographical features. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to move your motion?
Thank you. Yeah, just moving the motion is slightly different on the business paper. Number 1 would be as it is. Number 2 would be consider opportunities within the policy review to better recognize and reflect the contribution, history, culture, and culturally and linguistically diverse communities within the Dubbo LGA area.
Right, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Ganguly has spoken most of the things I would like to say, but this motion is just I'd like to clear to the community. This is nothing we're not changing anything, because this policy been pretty old policy, 2016. It need to be updated, and in that update, we want to use the add that cult community, nothing else. Like, we want to feel like inclusive. We want to, our kids are growing here, our future generation kids can be part of this community. So that's why I bring that motion. We're not changing anything existing, any road, bridge, any park, any names. It's just a policy review and add cult communities. So in future, if anyone done a fantastic job, and if communities think they need to be recognized through this process, then there'll be opportunity. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, I support the principle that Councillor Chowdhury's trying to bring here. Obviously, the policy he refers to, my understanding is that it's around 10 years old anyway, so it does need reviewing. I guess his point 2 makes an assumption that there will be a review, and that certainly the culturally and linguistically diverse communities who now are rather prominent in this community are recognised within that report. I did see a stat in amongst one of the reports here tonight that suggests that 18.5% of the population of Dubbo were not born in Australia. So we have a very, very diverse community, and this just recognises that, to ensure that if that policy, or when that policy is reviewed, that they are recognised. So thank you.
Further speakers? I'll just quickly say, it's good to have up-to-date policies, and it's also good to note from the director speaking there earlier that this will be point 2 about the culturally and linguistically diverse communities, will part of what's got to be done anyway. So we'll comply with all of our bits and pieces then at council. Thank you. Further speakers? Back to the mover, Councillor Chowdhury.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll put that motion then. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next, we have 9.4 Renewable Energy Voluntary Planning Agreements. Councillor Ivey, would you like to move your motion?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. I move it.
As in per papers, seconded by Councillor Wright. Councillor Ivey, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, hopefully the motion is reasonably self-explanatory. There is a move, guidelines submitted by the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure as to how voluntary planning agreements should be structured, and they have moved away from what we used to have as this council was pioneered actually, that the VPAs would be based on a percentage of the capital improvement value, investment value of the project, and that was 1.5%. The government moved away from that and instead opted for various per megawatt amounts of $8.50, $11.50 or $150 per megawatt. Now that's that works out around about for most projects about 1.5%. So it's about similar. Perhaps a little bit less. That those values are a little bit less than 1.5% for most projects. When proposing that change, the government said, look, we'll set these values, suggested values in November 2023. That went ahead, and the final guidelines were issued in November 2024, a year later, but still adopting the original per megawatt amounts. In the meantime, of course, inflation had moved on, and so what was $850, what was worth $850 in 2023 wasn't worth that in 2024. So this motion does two things. One, it recognises that figure, that base figure, has to be indexed to inflation, CPI each year. Our current guidelines that this council issue doesn't include a factor for inflation or adjustment for CPI, and it should. So that's the first aspect. The other aspect is that the government guidelines say that the $850 should be adjusted for inflation from November 2024. But again, logic says that that's wrong. It should be adjusted from 2023. So that's what this motion does. I hear from the public forum some suggestions that the motion should go a bit broader, and I don't disagree with those sentiments. I think it probably should, but I think that those sentiments should be included in council's deliberations. But I don't think it's right that it should be part of this motion. I think it really should be a part of a separate motion which can come before council, and we can move forward from that. So I'd request that the motion stand as it is, but that those other issues to be considered later. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It's a question just regarding VPAs, and it just probably follows on from I think it was Mrs. Dwyer made a comment with respect to ensuring that that funds received from VPAs do go towards some of those communities that are directly impacted. I'm wondering if you might be able to just explain a little as to when a VPA, once it's negotiated, the actual the finer detail as to how that money is spent. Can we talk a little bit about that particular process?
To the General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to Director Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, with planning agreements, there's a number of steps, and I think you've probably heard me talk here at Council before that something like the Spices Creek Wind Farm planning agreement took a period of 18 months to get it from first meeting through to signed and sealed, so to speak, as well, through that consultation process. What basically happens, and I'll start this with how the VPAs considered, and then we can talk around our approach as well. So what happens there when the proponent first provides an offer to council, that's at a stage called draft terms. So when the staff are at a point with the proponent where we can move a draft terms report through to council for your consideration, that happens at that stage. You probably recall the Cabora Solar Farm was one of those draft term stages in the last 2 or 3 months as well. Following a draft term stage, that's where we get down to really talking with the proponent around what the voluntary planning agreement looks like, especially from a legalistic side, and then also obviously, of course, what the community could benefit from, basically within that project area as well. The way that we have done business in respect of our planning agreements over time is the primary impacts of development should be looked at and considered in the actual state significant development process. The voluntary planning agreement is there for secondary development impacts. That's how we've considered it at that stage. With our planning agreements to date, what they have focused on very much in that first period is looking at what improvements can happen directly for those communities that are impacted. Not impacted, that have basically been asked to live with a project near them in that regard as well. So something like the Spices Creek Wind Farm, it's got distance requirements that are actually built into the planning agreement. It is difficult, obviously, with the planning agreement process. There's no hard and fast rules that are built in to the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. It basically says it has to be for a public purpose, and some commentary around that. So each proponent will have some sort of nuanced version as to how they want to look at community benefits, and what the team do is work through that and try and do our best we can for the community at large, and then also importantly for those people that are being asked to live near a project there as well. So once we've got that draft planning agreement to a point where we can provide it to council, that's where it comes up again for consideration by the elected body before we actually go out and undertake community consultation. And then obviously, just like a normal process, after community consultation, it comes back to you as the elected body for that consideration and any changes there as well.
Councillor Wright, further? No. Further, Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a minor one. I fully commend the motion from Councillor Ivey. I think it's excellent to make sure that's our job, to make sure we take as much money as we can along the way from these various projects. But I do have one technical question, which I've noticed. We've always said that batteries don't seem to be charged as much, and $150 is the amount per megawatt for batteries. But that's for standalone batteries, and I'm noticing more and more developments now seem to be integrated projects where they're integrated as a solar and battery together, because obviously the sun's shining through the day, some extra energy put into those batteries for use at night time. I'm wondering if Mr Jennings can potentially give us the answer as to what an integrated site would pay, given the fact that solar's $850, standalone batteries $150, whether an integrated solar battery site pays the $850 for the entire site, or to pro-rata amount between those two to give $850 for some component and $150 for another component. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
To the General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to Director Jennings.
Through you, Mr Mayor, thanks for the question, Councillor Dickerson. Where there is two actual development types, so let's say wind farm and a battery, the guidelines from the state government talk around, in the case of a wind farm, it'd just be the $10.50 per megawatt. So it wouldn't actually be a separate charge for a battery. If it's a standalone battery, that's where the $150 a megawatt comes in to that calculation process.
Further? No. Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, look, more of a statement than anything. With the benefits of the VPA going back to the affected community or the people that live in that area, I'd just hate to see the person that has sold out their land to these companies sort of double dip, so to speak. So, of course, the guys that are faced with it that are here tonight, they're the ones that really need the help and the resources of whatnot that comes back from the VPA. But I wish there would be something in line that would say, the guys that did sell out their neighbours or did, whatnot and received all these millions of dollars, they would not be entitled to any part of that VPA because, it's you guys that stood strong. But I could just see them saying, well, we're in the area too because we still live here. personally, I would hate to see them benefit in any way, because in my eyes, and like I said, this is only a statement, they're the ones that have really sold us out. So,
thank you. Further debate, councillors? I'll just quickly say, one of the other things that the state government really needs to look at, and we probably as council need to as well rather quickly, are data centres. I've been reading and looking a lot at data centre things lately, and the like the diesel engines to power the cooling systems when the renewable energy isn't working or whatever. Very, very noisy, very polluting, so we really need to look at that as well. And someone who's getting away without much of a VPA is the Essential Energy Dubbo project. I know that I've mentioned that previously to staff, and staff having conversations, but they really need to pony up a lot of money to the community. And there's also, further on from this motion, look at rating categories where we could extract further rate income for the whole LGA from a lot of these projects. So I was happy to support this. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll go back to the mover, Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really just to follow up on the comments made about the ensuring where the benefits flow to. And I agree, that's a very important issue. I'd caution against, though, trying to muddy the waters with the VPA. The purpose of the VPA money is pretty clearly defined. It's to, which Director Jennings outlined, and so that's what we've got to look at. I hear Mr. Dwyer's comments about neighbours, and fully agree with them. There are aspects of conditions for development of renewables whereby neighbours do get a percentage of some of the benefits that either the landowners with the wind turbines or the solar panels on do receive. Then neighbours can also be paid an amount, and that's the sort of thing I think we really should, and the community should really be looking at. We should be developing it and pushing it and making sure that these renewable companies do contribute something worthwhile to the community, as I say. But I don't believe that we should muddy the waters within the VPA by including that sort of thing within the VPA. Let's keep the VPA for what it's supposed to be and look at some of these, developing some of these other aspects to make sure that the benefits and the offsetting funds are shared much more equitably. I go back to the comment, originally the VPA was supposed to be 1.5% of the capital investment value. When you stand and think about it, 1.5% is absolute chicken feed. I mean, when they're developing the budgets for a multi-million dollar, perhaps $1 billion project, these proponents have got factors in there for risk of 5 and 10%. They've got contingency in there of 5 and 10%. And 1.5% comes back to the community. I mean, I think for the last 6 or 7 years, I have been trying to argue every opportunity I get that the money that the communities are getting is not enough. We really should get more. I've said before, if the move into renewables, which I support, I think it's got lots of advantages. If that's producing advantages for the whole of Australia, for the whole of the planet, for the whole of this region, which would argue that it is, then the people most affected by that transition should get more than 1.5%. And so I think we have really got to push that as hard as we possibly can. And again, I just say that that's outside or in addition to the actual just the VPA money. So thank you.
Thank you. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next, we have 9.5, support for the campaign to increase federal assistance grants to local government. I'll move my motion. I'll quickly read it out. It states, 1, it notes the Country Mayors Association of New South Wales Invest in Us campaign advocating for increased Commonwealth financial assistance grants to local governments. The campaign seeks to restore at least 1% of total Commonwealth taxation revenue for local councils across Australia. 2, recognises the critical role local government plays in delivering essential services and infrastructure that underpin community wellbeing, economic vitality and national resilience. 3, supports the campaign's core message, invest in us so we can invest in them. 4, commits to participating in the campaign by A, engaging with local media and community stakeholders to raise awareness, and B, lobbying federal representatives to support the funding increase, and 5, write to the relevant officials including the Prime Minister, Treasurer, Federal Minister for Local Government, the Shadow Minister for Local Government, our local Member of Parliament and New South Wales Duty Senator, expressing Council's strong support for the campaign and urging their commitment to the proposed funding increase. I seek a seconder, Councillor Chowdhury. Thank you. This is a nationwide campaign by all the different local government bodies, and especially locally in New South Wales, Country Mayors Association and the Local Government New South Wales peak body, to really put the pressure on the federal government of whatever stripes to return the funding of local government to 1% of total federal taxation. It used to be, and it's been eaten away bit by bit over the year, including in the last federal budget where it went from 0.51% of total federal taxation down to 0.49% of total federal taxation. And this has been happening for 20 to 25 years now. This is a coordinated campaign to see it return to what it needs to be to ensure financial sustainability to councils. And this would be untied money where councils decide where they need to spend the money. The federal government says that the total pool going to councils equals 1% of total federal taxation, but a lot of that's tied grants where they get to come and cut a ribbon, whereas we know that where we have to spend the money in our local communities. It'd cost only an extra $3.5 billion spread right across the whole country for the federal government to allow that to happen back to the 538 councils in the country. And it's something that I've been saying about it on the radio for a long time now, whenever I get the chance, and it's getting critical for a lot of smaller councils out there, but even a council like ours, we can't keep up with all of the things that we need to do as cost shifting is impacting councils more and more. So anything we can do with all the other councils to get behind this campaign and say, you keep the 99%, just give us the 1% so that we can invest that into our communities, would be appreciated. Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury, further debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I could not agree more because I will fully support on your motion because recently I went to Albury and conference and I met with few councillors and mayors, and every councillors and mayor are mentioning like how critical for at this moment continue developing continue to deliver the services to the community, because every councillors under so much financial burden and financial struggles they're doing. So I would be campaign with you to make sure this federal government listen to Country Mayor Association, listen to the people are campaign with this, because our community deserve more, our community wants more, but we cannot deliver without the financial benefit. As tonight the speaker mentioned a 3% rate rise. We also don't like to rate rise if we get a lot of grants and a lot of money coming through our way. So anyway, I'll support this fully to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'll well and truly support this motion. It really is. The whole situation really is quite dire. It's quite serious. I mean, the federal government says that, okay, we'll have a state government system, and the state government says we'll have a local government system because we really do provide services to the community. As an arm, if you like, almost of the state government, it is the responsibility, partly their responsibility, to make sure the situation is viable. And it's not. It is not viable. What is happening now is not viable. As Mr. Perry said, look, don't put the rates up by 3%. You know, councils' expenses are going up, or the wages are going up at sort of 4%, and the material costs are probably going up somewhere between 6 and 8 or 10%. So really, Blind Freddie can tell you that the situation that we're facing is not viable. Now, with due respect to Mr. Perry, I don't think the answer is therefore don't put the rates up, because that just makes it worse. We have an obligation to be fiscally responsible, and that means that we unfortunately do have to put the rates up to try to claw back some of the, or reduce some of the deficit. But it should be remembered that really in our $220 odd million budget, the rates that we collect is not the determining factor. It is grants, it is federal government, state government money, which is just so important to our survival. And if we don't get some sort of increase up towards that 1%, then really, federal government and state government, you better think again about local government, because what is happening now is just not working. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? No. I'll just quick right of reply. Thanks for the support from those two councillors. And yeah, these financial assistance grants are just designed to support the essential everyday services that communities rely on and that councils are increasingly asked to deliver. And yeah, it's just, we don't need project-based funding. We just need untied funding to keep the lights on. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next, we're up to point 10, which is reports from council officers. 10.1, development application D 2026-123, advertising structure. Is there someone that would like to move that as per the papers? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As tonight the speaker has mentioned, how critical this infrastructure at this moment, there was a lot of query, a lot of interest at this moment. So as Dubbo is growing, and we cannot ignore this one, so I will fully support this staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? Councillor Toynton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment, there appears to be no objections in any of the business papers for this, but I'm just a little bit disappointed by the speaker in the public gallery that basically threw the gauntlet down of grant this or else we'll take legal action. I don't take too kindly to intimidation tactics like that, where it's a do or die situation. We had no reason on the agenda to refuse it. So that's just my take on the situation.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? I'll just quickly say, look, I was thinking the same thing as Councillor Toynton there. Look, I'm going to vote against this, and if it gets defeated, I'll move another motion that we refuse it. We do have a planning proposal waiting to be gazetted at the moment that wouldn't allow this, and I wouldn't like it to look like around town Las Vegas Strip with big flashy signs all over the place. I know that there would be some local content on there, but I think what we've decided on through the E4 planning proposal about signs will serve the community well. So I'll vote against that, also noting that I didn't really appreciate someone coming along saying we'll take you to court and it'll cost you 120 grand. That's great. That's all from me. Any further comments? There being none, back to the mover for a right of reply, Councillor Chowdhury.
No, all good, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. That's carried. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 votes to 3. The next item is 10.2, Modified Development Application D 2024-197 Part 2, Modified Application Electronic Signage. Is there someone that would like to move that as per the papers or an alternative motion? Councillor Wright, and seconded by Councillor Ivey. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to that?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, my understanding, this is an existing sign. It's just changing the what will be displayed on it, and I just looking at the conditions of the modified conditions that refer to at least 50% of the advertising shown must relate to local businesses operating with the WLGA, and it also made reference as well to community. Actually, that one there doesn't say community groups, but nevertheless, it is an existing sign. It does slightly modify the conditions, whether it promotes a particular a car wash or not, or a number of other businesses locally. Then either way, I think that's minimal. I'm happy to support it. I don't think we'll see an overrun of signs in that area. Obviously, that particular policy, if it passes through anyway, will ensure that these types of signs won't appear any further. So I don't think we'll be saturated with them. But I'm happy to support the modification. Thanks.
Thank you. Further debate? I'll just quickly say that I'm going to vote against this one too, because the original development consent included the condition in the papers there. It says the signage shall only be used to promote community activities, groups and events. The signage shall not advertise businesses other than those approved to operate from the subject allotment, which was number 1 Douglas Mawson Road. So, look, I was happy enough with that one. This will sneak through again, probably under the, wouldn't get through once the planning proposal is gazetted, whenever that may be the case. But look, if you get something approved under one thing, and then I know developers like to do it, they go for a variation all the time. That seems to be how it works. But I'm happy enough leaving it with the original conditions there. So I'll vote against that one, and should that be defeated, then I'll move another motion saying such. Thank you. Further debate? There being none, go back to the mover, Councillor Wright, for right of reply there.
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried 7 votes to 2. Next item is 10.3, naming a thoroughfare associated with development consent D20-471 Part 2, 2R Richardson Road. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Ryan. Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll put that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next item is 10.4, 2026 Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Survey Results and Draft 2026 to 2028 Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Service Plan. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to that at all?
Just to briefly say that it's a very good report, and it does highlight where customers complain the most, and also the positives in it. And hopefully they'll be able to work towards something which will outline what the complaints actually are later on down the track.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we will put that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next is 10.5, making of the rates and charges 2026-2027. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Toynton, seconded by Councillor Wright. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to this one at all?
I'd like to move an alternative, an amendment to add point 3 for the water and sewer charges.
Righto. This one. Righto. We've got Councillor Toynton moving an amendment. Councillor Toynton, would you like to... Making of rates and charges.
Oh, sorry, it's just the screen isn't.
Oh, righto. There's the... There's the motion. Councillor Toynton has moved an amendment which will come up on the screen as point number 3. Councillor Toynton, would you like to...
Quick point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Is Councillor Toynton moving the original motion and an amendment, or is this an alternative motion?
Which would you like to do, Councillor Toynton?
Add point 3 to the original.
Add point, just point 3. Just point 3.
Alternative motion.
Is it? Righto. Or is it an amendment? It's an amendment, isn't it? It's not the whole.
Have you moved the original motion, seconded, spoken that motion, then move an amendment, or you move an
He hasn't spoken to the motion. He just went straight to an amendment.
Correct. So is this the whole alternative, or is it an amendment?
This will just be point 3. This will just be the amendment point 3. Which Councillor Toynton, speak to point 3, please. There.
Needs a second.
Seconder for the amendment, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Toynton.
So as per what's on the screen now, it is hereby resolved that in accordance with and pursuant to sections 501 of the Local Government Act 1993, that council makes a separate sewerage service charge, residential mumble, in the making of the rates and charges 2026-2027, and the fees and charges for 2026-2027 for properties within the defined mumble sewer service area of $844.76. Council will grant a voluntary pension rebate of $12.50 on the residential sewage service charge residential mumble.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson, further speakers. Councillor Richardson.
Just a question, actually. The $12.50, that I'm assuming that's per quarter.
We'll just get clarification about the $12.50. Is that to the General Manager? Is that per quarter?
This is
Thank
the
you,
annual.
Mayor, and through you to Manager for Finance.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's an annual pension rebate, a voluntary pension rebate that council has granted for several years on the sewer service charge.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson, further on $12.50 pensioner rebate.
Yeah, it's not very much, is it? No. Okay.
Thank you. Further debate on the amendment, councillors. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to support that if that was a per quarter basis. It's $12.50 per year is rather tokenistic, but $12.50 per quarter would versus per annum, I would be more than happy to support.
We'll just get we can get some clarity and further information on that $12.50 pensioner rebate to the General Manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand it has to be matched to a New South Wales government rebate, but I'll pass to the respective manager for confirming.
The council, in accordance with the Local Government Act, grants an $87.50 mandatory pension rebate on the sewer service charge to all properties throughout the local government area who are levied the annual sewer service charge. That's also to the existing sewer service charge that's applicable to Dubbo and Wellington. The $12.50 is in the resolution for the mumble properties to ensure that they are matched to the other sewer service charge residential, applicable to the rest of the local government area, and it's been $12.50 for several years to make the pension concession that they receive $100 in total of their sewer service charge.
Right.
No, it's voluntary, so it's there that we must give them
councillors?
$87.50. It's voluntary that we give them the additional $12.50 to round it to $100.
Further questions on that, Councillor Wright?
Just some clarity again. I thought my understanding of this was to assist with offsetting the cost of emptying a septic service in Mumble, not to provide an additional discount, but help to offset that particular cost, which my understanding is the other areas don't need to actually to come up with that cost. And I understand that's a cost of maybe several $100s, maybe every 5 to 10 years. I'm not sure of the timeline there. But in my understanding, this is to help offset that cost. Whereas every property owned by a pensioner would receive the $87.50. This is just an extra $12.50. Is that the way I'm understanding that?
To the General Manager.
Thank you, and through the Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This is the discounted total mumble rate proposed. So that's the amount. We just included the additional wording for the voluntary pension to make it clear that they are also entitled to that voluntary discount as well. So this is the mumble rate. So this is a discounted rate compared to our sewer charge, annual sewer charge to others. This is a special mumble rate for a discounted rate due to their level of service. But to make it clear, they are also entitled to that voluntary pension rebate as well.
So just
Same
to make
rate
it-
across the community. Councillor
Just to make
Dickerson.
it clear, Mr Mayor, maybe I could suggest to Councillor Taunton that he puts in the normal rate and then the discounted rate, so it's more obvious the actual discount that's being given to Mumble residents.
Right. Councillor Taunton, happy with that?
Happy with that to make sure that the cost of $844 is reflective to say that that includes a $50 discount applied to those who have to pump out a septic system.
We can just put the, hang on, Councillor Ivy, we'll get to you. So the seconder, Councillor Wright, would you be happy with that to put in the add wording? No, you can't do that. No. Advice from the staff, it has to be specific. You can't do that. Through the General Manager to the Director of Infrastructure for some further clarification on that.
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor. Just to be clear, when we do these rates, we've actually got to have a dollar figure put in there. So that's why you see the $844.76. The actual rate for the rest of the local government area is $894.76. So there's a $50 discount there with this rate being set for Mumble as opposed to the rest of the local government area. So I just want to make that clear that the $12.50 isn't the discount. It's actually $50 discount. Happy to take it.
So that was my point to Councillor Taunton, that he just needs to add in
Councillor
there
Dickerson.
discounted rate of $50 or put the normal rate of $8.94 discounted to $8.44. You can't put the $50 in there. You
Staff
can't put the
says no.
No, I think you can put. I can think you can put that's a $50 discount.
Well, hang on. Let's just get some advice from the staff here, councillors. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to our manager.
Thank you.
Yep, the manager.
So as pointed out, to set two separate charges in the making of the rates and charges, $894.76 residential sewer, and then the $844.76 for residential Mumble. And it would be a charge that must be on their rates and charges notice, which is why we're not referring to a $50 discount. We're just making two separate charges. One that's applicable to the local government area with the exception of Mumble, and the other a charge that is applicable to Mumble.
Right. Further clarity on that. Councillor Ivy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question. So why are we talking about the voluntary pensioner rebate? Because not every, that's a separate issue. Not everyone in Mumble is a pensioner. I mean, there may well be some landowners that just don't get the pensioner rebate. So why aren't we just talking about effectively the $50 discount for the fact that you live in Mumble and you've got to pump your septic tank out every 5 years? Well, isn't that what we're trying to offset?
So my understanding is that...
What's the $12.50 about?
My understanding is that's open to all pensioners across the LGA. So pensioners in Mumble don't miss out on the $12.50 just because they live in Mumble. They're getting the $50 discount, we said, so that they can afford to pump out their septic tanks as required because no one else actually is. But I'll just go for further clarity on that to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. That is correct. I mean, if we didn't have it in there, then the people who are pensioners within that area wouldn't have access to it. So that's why it's included within the resolution, to ensure that they are captured in being able to access that pensioner rebate.
Further, Councillor Ivy.
I'm still a little bit confused, but if I'm confused, I'm quite sure a lot of ratepayers will be confused too. Do we just say almost as council will grant a voluntary pension rebate of $12.50 on the residential sewerage charge, residential Mumble, or not even residential Mumble, to lift the overall pensioner rebate to $100 for residential Mumble? Why don't we actually spell it out what the pensioner rebate is?
To the General Manager for that question.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to Director of Organisational Performance.
Unfortunately, yeah. As this is to make it clear, as per the legislation for levying rates or the making of the rates, it has to be laid out quite clearly as per their structure.
Councillor Ivey, further clarification?
I was
Thought?
just saying that wouldn't it be a good idea just to put in another couple of words of explanation? It doesn't change the actual granting of the $12.50, but another sentence or another few words that says this brings up for Mumble residents, this brings up the overall pensioner rebate to $100.
The General Manager.
Thanks, Mayor, and through you to the Director.
My recommendation would be in the next budget item is the fees and charges. It's got less structure, that you could make another recommendation because that is the adoption of the fees and charges. This report is the making of the rates.
Right. Councillor Toynton.
So just with this one, is there any way at all to put either add to point 3 or insert point 4 that we can say, have any kind of explanatory note to it to say this fee, it noted that it is $50 less than everywhere else due to the requirement to pump septic tanks out at Mumble, which is nowhere else in our LGA. Is that possible to add that in there so everyone's clarified as to what this motion actually achieves, and when the residents get their bill or they get a note to say, yep, it is cheaper because of those extenuating circumstances?
To the General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the Councillor. It would be, on this one, there's a legislative and regulatory framework that sits around how we set the rates and charges, so we need to be very specific in how we word and structure the motion. A suggestion would be that if you did wish to include that, the next item on the agenda is the appropriate place for that to take.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll go back to the mover of the original motion, that was Councillor Toynton, to have a wrap up of right of reply to anything on our amendment.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, we're voting on just the amendment. We'll open the voting just on the amendment. Please cast your votes when that opens. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Okay, so that now the amendment becomes the motion. We've got points 1, 2 and 3 now. Is there anything further on all of that? There being nothing. I don't know that anyone else had spoken before Councillor Toynton, so is there a need for a right of reply to... No, thank you. Councillors will put all of that, which is points 1, 2 and 3. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. The next item is 10.6, Draft 2026-2027 Budget, Operational Plan and associated documents and the results of public exhibition. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to any of that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to bring a amendment on that motion. Sorry. Is that cattle feeding fees?
Yes.
So there'll be changes into cattle feeding fees in the draft 26-27 fees and charges. Number one, that the 26-27 fees and charges in respect of the cattle feeding fee per head adjusted to 50 cents per stock sold in the regional stock market sale inclusive GST, and that number two, that the report provided to council in April 2027 reviewing the impact, effectiveness and efficiency of the new charges for the DRLM in relation to feeding fees. Thank you.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Toynton. Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we have seen like a couple of speakers have spoken tonight, and we have seen like there's a strong like a money is coming at this moment because cattle market is pretty good. 7.1 million is came till April, and we put that motion in because of at this moment we are the pioneer in that region, so we don't want to scare our customers to don't come to here and get into the other markets. So that's why we're not increasing from 10 cents to $1. It's like a 900% increase. So we are just gradually increase. So our customer been satisfied. We give them a better service, and they'll become more and more into our region. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question actually to Councillor Chowdhury. Would you be prepared to change the amount from 50 cents to say 30 cents with an increment of 3% a year?
Councillor Chowdhury, you can answer if you wish or not.
Yeah, I'm happy to do because we initially thought like a 30 cents, but I have spoken with the stockholders and also like a staff, and both parties been happy to increase till 50 cents. But I'm happy to take 30 cents. Or every year? Yeah, that's how I said, like in April 2027, we'll bring the report, then we can discuss. Yeah, correct, yeah.
Right, so Councillor Chowdhury would be happy to make that change, which would be instead of 50 cents, 30 cents with 3% increment, annual increment. Councillor Toynton is the seconder. Would you be happy with that? Yes. Okay. That'll be typed in up there in a second. All right. Further debate, councillors. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It was a question actually. I'm just wondering if we've got some figures that can indicate to me the reduction of 70 cents per head. Previously it was $1. What's the impact to the livestock or the sale budget with the reduction of that 70 cents per head of cattle? Sorry to put you on the spot there.
General Manager, about 300. No,
Thank you,
200.
Mayor. I'll pass through you to Director for Organisational Performance as she quickly trying to make the maths work.
About $210,000 at 300 head going through the yards using that service.
300,000. Yep. Further questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Wright.
So I'm just running down now to the draft budget and to that particular line for the 2026-27 financial year that indicates to me that the livestock markets for the particular year, I'll put my glasses on so I can see, is telling me that generating around 7.5 million, only 7.6 million in income, but after expenses and depreciation, based on the $1, it's returning a dividend to council of about $170,000, which I would assume just goes towards renewals, etc. So by removing $200,000, am I right in suggesting that facility would then run at a deficit at a cost to council and community?
The General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the Director.
In the 2027 budget for the livestock market, it has a significant asset renewal program budgeted. So, yes, to your point, it would not be. It will need to use reserves to fund that program and any reduction in that revenue.
Councillor Wright, further?
No, not at this stage. Thank you.
Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, in some ways, I'm pretty disappointed with this debate. I mean, we are talking about a commercial operation levying a commercial charge, and we seem to be just, is it 10 cents? Is it $1? Is it 30 cents? Or is it 50 cents? I mean, we are talking about a multi-million-dollar business, and I think we have a responsibility to look at that business in a proper commercial, professional way. Now, I think that the cattle feeding charges that we charge should reflect the actual cost of feeding the cattle. Now,
Just sorry, point of order, Mr. Mayor. We've just got conversation going on over here when they should be concentrating on the speaker.
Thank you, councillors.
so I think, look, it should reflect the cost of feeding the cattle. Look, no one wants more than me for the Dubbo sale yards to be a fantastic success. Again, I think if you go to any cattle producer in Australia or any cattle producing area in Australia and you say, what's Dubbo mean to you? They would say, oh, Dubbo, that's where the sale yards are. That's where the livestock selling centre is. It is right. It is a fantastic resource. But we as a council have a responsibility to make sure that that facility, turning over millions and millions of dollars a year, generating a fantastic income to the region of fantastic benefit, that we have a responsibility to make sure that it is commercially at least break even. Mr. Simmons said that we really do have a need to make sure that Dubbo sale yards can compete with other forms of or other outlets to sell cattle, and that's absolutely right. It's 100% right. So we as a council have an obligation to make sure that that livestock facility goes on continuing improving, continuing being of a benefit for future generations to come. Otherwise, if we don't improve it, if we don't move with the times, it will become redundant, and the producers will sell their cattle somewhere else. So we have an obligation to make sure that that facility maintains its competitive position, and we will only do that if we make sure that the improvements that the improvements required to that facility are made. And we can only do that, and it's only fair that we do that, if we do it out of operating revenue. I mean, it is such a fantastic facility, it must be able to be self-supporting. So, look, whether, as I say, whether or not the figure is 10 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents or $1, I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it's closer to $1 though than it is to 10 cents. And that's why I was happy to support Councillor Chowdhury's original motion of making the charge at 50 cents per head, with a review in April to try to get us some proper figures that says, here is the cost of feeding cattle, and it is 20 cents a head, it's $1.20 a head. I don't know what it is, but let's get some proper figures so that we can make an informed professional decision. So that's why I would oppose 30 cents. I'm pretty sure it'd be more than 30 cents. 50 cents, I'm not sure, but on the basis that it's 50 cents with a review in April, I'd be more than happy to support it. So I support the original amendment, not the, which I think may be now 30 cents. I'm not sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors. Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm very similar to Councillor Ivey. We've got a business operation there, and we've got to treat it as such. And once we take that figure from $170,000, as Ms. Bassingthwaighte said, take $210,000 off that, that effectively means $40,000 in the red. I know it's not quite in the red, there's some other figures in there, but we don't want to be having an impost on the ratepayers of Dubbo to run a business operation. Mr. Simmons said something very important in my mind when he talked at public forum. He said that Dubbo is the benchmark in the industry, and I think we are the benchmark, and we can be the benchmark. Us setting a figure of $1 in this example is then the benchmark, according to Mr. Simmons, across the industry, essentially by us being the leader and making sure that we're doing things the way they need to be done. I don't agree that we should just be dropping it to 50 to 30 cents. Again, I was probably prepared to live with 50 cents, but 30 cents now is just not giving us the return that we need. And I'm really keen, as we've done over the last few years, really keen to see the sale yards do what they need to do for the growers in our region, do what they do for the agents, but also make sure they're not an impost on the ratepayers of Dubbo. In fact, the opposite, we want them to be returning a dividend to the ratepayers of Dubbo to take pressure off the rates that people need to pay. And we already heard the public gallery tonight that someone said that we shouldn't be putting the rates up by 3%. Well, it's hard to not do that when we've got an asset there that could be returning more money. So I'll be voting against the amendment. I just can't live with the 30 cents as the number there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors. Councillor Toynton.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will be 2 years ago this Friday that Council resolved for a modified status quo. Now, to me, that's 2 years that we've had to get this right and make sure that it's fair for everybody. I think it's important that we step these sorts of fees up incrementally. Like 30 cents is already a 300% increase from the 10 cents it currently is now. If we go getting too greedy and say, okay, a 900% increase, now from 10 cents to $1 doesn't sound like much, but as a percentage, it's huge. Now, if you turn around and said, well, we'll put rates up the same 900%, the critics would howl. We wouldn't make it out that front door if we did that. So I think let's see how 30 cents goes. Let's keep it fair. Keep it in line with our modified status quo that says, well, we've got to make sure this is fair for our ratepayers. I agree. We can't be subsidising everyone's business operations, but we don't want to get too greedy and then everyone who uses it, because ultimately it's not the DWSA and the stock and station agents that use that facility. It's every farmer who says, I can move my cattle here. And it's not just farmers from Dubbo. We get them all the way. Some might go as a halfway and say, well, we're going all the way to Roma, or we're going all the way to Carcoar or the CTLX at Forbes. But if we capture some of that marketplace, it's here. We're on the verge of 3 highways where it meets out there. So let's make sure we get this right. We're not biting off more than we can chew. We'll just step it up at 30 cents, see how that goes, because we can always review it later. We can always look at that and say, well, this is not working, and we can make amendments in 12 months' time. I don't think 30 cents to 50 cents. So if 20 cents is going to break the bank, leaving it at 10 is going to break the bank. 10 to 30 is the same amount. So I'm happy with the 30 cents. And I think we really need to work in alignment with our modified status quo to make sure this is fair. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? Councillor Butler.
Oh, just a question. What is the break-even point then, where we're actually paying for the cattle, the feed equals income idea?
The General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the Director for Organisational Performance.
We are doing significant investment into the stock feeding yards. So there is in the current budget allocation for more infrastructure so that we have more yards and more ability to feed and the stock. The break-even point is, I don't have the figures off the top of my head, but at 10 cents, no, it's not break-even, because that investment in that infrastructure is not going to be covered by 10 cents. And we do get complaints about the quality of those yards. So it is that ability to be able to provide that service and to clean those yards out at a more regular basis.
Councillor Butler, further.
Oh, yeah, just then. Okay, thank you for that. It's very good information. So if 10 cents is obviously not break even, is 30 cents going to break even? Or is it will at least be over the break even or something like that?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Director.
Unfortunately, I don't have that information in front of me.
So we're guessing.
Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll go back to the mover of the original motion, Councillor Richardson, for a right of reply to anything in the amendment. Yeah, but the mover of the original motion. So you get to speak on the right of reply to anything in that amendment.
No, I'm fine with that, I think, Mr. Mayor. And just to reiterate that Dubbo Regional Livestock Market is a hub for livestock, and if we can keep our costs at this for the next 12 months and then review it, and I think that if we can increment it every year, then the agents will be quite happy to pay those increases rather than a big jump of 90 cents in one hit. So, yeah.
Thank you, councillors. There's the voting on the amendment as per the screen. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried 6 votes to 3. That gets added to everything. So we're back to debate on the original with the amendment added. Councillor Butler.
Is this the time for me to move an amendment, or is this
Yep.
a wait?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I too, like Councillor Chad, would like to move an amendment. So would mine be 10.5 now?
It'll be 6. It'll be 0.6.
Be 0.6 now because I had originally 0.4, but there's been an amendment. So I'd just like to add that the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre be completed within the contribution amounts totalling 14,381,047.
Right. Have we got a seconder for that one? Councillor Richardson. Let me just write this down here. Okay. That will get typed up on the screen so we can all see it as we go. Has governance got it? Yep. Need it read out again? Oh, you got it in digital form. Okay, good. Councillor Butler to speak on your amendment.
Microphone on? Yep. So my concern with the budget was we have this $20 million figure of WCTC in there, and I just concerned that that's not within our budget. I believe the original amount advised was 14,381,047, and so the reason I moved this is I just would like to make it that the Wiradjuri Centre would still obviously go ahead, but it would have to stay within the funded boundaries of its limits there, that and not to go over that amount of money. Now I believe the amounts, it's not confidential, is it? The 20 million that is budgeted. So I would suggest that it's not financially responsible to tip in an extra $6 million or whatever that might come to. Concerns are that that money could have been used better elsewhere in terms of service provision, and I'm just concerned that we're overspending and that we could still achieve the goal of a Wiradjuri Centre with $12 million or $40 million, sorry, and not have to then tip in all the extra. And I just think that would be responsible to the ratepayers as well, and that hence I wanted to move that motion amendment. So thank you.
Right, thank you.
Yep.
Debate on the amendment, Councillor Chowdhury.
I just have a question. So what was the amount we have previously endorsed?
So from memory, we had a figure from a confidential report, and this would be what we'd previously say. This would be the grant money we have plus the extra couple of million that we'd said would put in. Is that correct, through to General Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. There was an aspect that's in the budget papers, which is the 20 million that we can see, and that's public information. The other commitments of council are in confidential.
Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah, I will vote against this one because I think my colleague Councillor Wells not here, and I think she would be really disappointed. And I'm very supportive of that Wiradjuri Centre. I know it's blowing our budget because of there's a lot of bureaucracy and taking too long to deliver this job. That's why that getting more and more money. But it's not. We also need to think about the sentiment of the community because of this tourism center being a long waiting project, and we are dragging and cannot deliver. So I will be vote against this one because I think we already decided the money and we cannot cut back again and then make it limbo or abandon this project. Thank you.
Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Again, I'm confused on this one too. I thought that at a previous council meeting we said we would go ahead, we would put it out for tender, we would see what the tender amount was that came back, and we would then make a decision on what to do. So why aren't we just staying with that? It may be that when the tenders come in, we can do it for $14.3 million. It may be that the tenders come back and we got to do it for $24 million, in which case we will probably not go ahead with it. So am I right in saying that we've got a tender process in place, that those tenders were coming back in, and we were then going to consider them in the consider the future of the Wiradjuri Centre in the light of those tenders?
Probably more of an address, but we'll say that the tenders are coming back soon to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Yes, the tender panel's right in the middle of assessing at the moment. The intention is to bring it to a committee meeting of council in a couple of weeks' time.
Councillor
clar-
Ivey, further
clarification then. So am I right in saying that the original and an earlier motion was that we would put it out to tender, get the tenders in, and then reconsider what to do with the centre? So what's changed?
I don't have that resolution in front of me. But that's the option, that it goes to, the tender comes back and then council makes a decision. Whether that was in the resolution or not, I'm not sure. The other verbiage around that, but that's it. Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, look, I was at the understanding the same as what Councillor Ivey was. I thought this was already debated and moved through to the tender side. So I in my understanding, I thought, you know, when the tenders come down, we might get a tender that comes in under that price. So I don't think this motion really needs to be set now when it's already in motion, so to speak. So I think we need to wait and see what comes in with the tenders.
Councillor Dickerson.
I'd just actually be interested in a legality here, Mr. Mayor. If we've gone out to tender, which we have in good faith, and we've got a tender process being evaluated now as we speak, would it actually be illegal for us to change the amount that we're proposing to spend, given the fact we've gone out to tender? When you go to tender, you've got to be genuinely able to say we are genuinely going to tender. If we then cut that back by a significant amount, then we would be actually saying that we weren't genuinely going out to tender. So I'm interested in the legality on that perspective, given the fact that we've already gone out to tender with an amount in mind and those tenders are closed.
The General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you to our Manager of Governance, who hopefully can help on this one.
We have actioned the last resolution, so there's no argument for rescission. You can step through a change in a resolution, but I take the point about the total budget. If you want extended advice, we might take an adjournment. Otherwise, you can continue.
Well, I'm not a lawyer. Take the advice of the in-house lawyer on these things. Councillor Dickerson.
Look, it's an interesting point, but I agree with Councillor Ivey. We've got to at least wait for the tender process to finish. I don't think now is the right time. So I'll speak against the motion. I don't, whether it's legal or not, I just think we shouldn't do it, given the fact we've gone through that tender process. It's out there, we're reviewing tenders, they've already closed. I don't think we should morally, even if it's not illegal, morally now go and change the budget midway through that process. Let's wait for the tenders to come through, exactly as Councillor Ivey said. Let's see what the numbers come out and make a decision based on the numbers then, not now before we've actually seen the price. It would seem we are jumping the gun ever so slightly to make a decision now when we haven't actually seen the tender prices.
Further debate? Councillor Butler, question?
Just a question, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so questions, not debate as such. I'm thinking to the General Manager or who the relevant. I've got a number of questions. So one of the things I'd like to know is what would be the adverse effects of spending of the additional money. So I think it's public knowledge, isn't it, that if we've got 14 and the budget shows 20 of spending that additional 6 million, would there be a reduction in service levels across the region or other adverse effects that could be maybe spent on roads or I'm just sort of wondering the opportunity cost and how much money would be lost on this centre over the life of it. There's just a few questions. I have a few more. Is that all right? A few questions to
start with that.
To start with that?
Yeah, righto. To the General Manager, a couple there, I think.
Thank you, Mayor. And through you, I think the Director for Organisational Performance wants to take this one.
As was stated earlier, it is a resolution to construct the Redery Centre. So the budget has been prepared with the construction costs involved and also a loan to fund the additional funds that Council resolved in September, along with the operating costs for the next 4 years and in its long-term financial plan, that escalating into the 10-year plan as well. So the operating cost of the facility is budgeted to based on reports that was prepared and presented to council on its operating or expected revenue and expenditure. So that's how this budget, as presented to you, has been prepared.
Further, councillor?
Yes, okay, but I would like a bit of specific information. So, I mean, yes, that's been in there. So, okay, if this has already been set, what are those figures, you know, that you're referring to?
The General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Director.
Yeah, so in the report that is in the budget paper, so it is in the draft budget and forecast, including capital post-exhibition. On page 6, we do have budget summaries that provide a function level breakdown of operating revenue and expenditure and its profits, depreciation forecast on each of them, noting that the Wiradjuri, just say if they're forecasting depreciation, not yet forecasting depreciation, but the operating cost for the Wiradjuri Centre is displayed and was on display during the public exhibition.
Councillor Butler, still got your mic on.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was just, so would you mind just reading those figures to me that you've just referred to, please?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Director.
Yep. So on page 6 of our council papers that we're in, the Wiradjuri Centre has a revenue base for the 2026-27 of 2.8 million, operating expenditure of 982,000, which makes an operating surplus of 1.8. This surplus is due to the revenue being inflated due to the grants that it will receive in that year. So a more relevant year of its operating costs budgeted is the 27-28 year, where it has an operating revenue of $100,000 and operating expenditure forecast of just over $1 million. Then in the following year, which is year 3 of its operation, it has an operating budget of $200,000 and an operating expense budget of $1 million. And then in the year 4, same again, it's $211,000 and operating expenditure of $1 million.
Councillor Butler, further.
All right, so the deficit is 800,000. Is that what I'm getting at? Is that what we're finding and what we're hearing? So it's running at a loss, fairly significant loss. Yeah. Okay. So that's, I guess, hence my point. I just wanted to make that point that this, the reason I'm making it is because the budget is set in this paper, and so I'm voting to approve
the
this
question?
budget.
You got to ask a question. You
Oh,
had
yeah,
an
so
address.
the question, yep, sorry. All right, let me just grab my little question again. All right, does the staff foresee that there could be a large blowout even in that 20 million that we've got? Like, could we be asking to go to 30 million, for instance?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, it's the cost escalation in local government's been a challenge, and that's why we're in the position we are today, from the original budgeted amount to what we're now looking at in order to build this centre. So yes, there is always a likelihood that there will be some escalation, and therefore any discussion when it comes to it, we need to have a discussion around contingency that would be required to support further cost escalation.
All right.
Further, councillor.
Yep. So, as I said, I have a few questions here. Could we build something within budget, and what would those options be?
The General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The time that I've had to look into this issue, it's got a long history, and it has been proposals at the very beginning of this for it to be built for around $4.5 million, a fairly modest structure that's according with other cultural centres around Australia. As the project grew over time and there was input from the community, that ambition and the designs reflected a much larger ambition, so from 450 squares to well over, I think it's 1,200 metres squared that we're looking at today. For the proposal that's being considered. So I guess the original concept and what was being proposed has expanded quite considerably in the time that we've had available to us. So I guess in answer to your question, could it be built for less than this? Then I guess you can go back to the drawing board again or consider other locations or smaller footprints. But we are presently in the market with a tender proposal based on what has been agreed to this point in time.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? Question, Councillor Ryan?
Yeah, just a question. Look, I thought we covered all this. These exact questions, I thought we had already covered these back when we spoke about it last year. So I just don't understand why we're doing it again.
Take that as a question.
Sorry, the question is, did we cover this then?
General
And why
Manager?
are we doing it again?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, those conversations were had before me, so I wasn't part of the council at the time. So, Director at Arms?
Go
on. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Through Mr. Mayor, yes, these were covered in some detail in the September report to the committees, and then the following week at the council meeting, went through a range of options and the price, the market price at the time, where we ended on the final amount that we went to tender with. So that tender has been assessed today, and we're preparing the report ready for a committee's meeting in a fortnight's time, when in the confidential setting, where we have an opportunity there as well to talk about any details that you wish to. But the questions asked so far tonight were all covered in that September report, CL 25259.
Thank you. Further debate or questions, councillors? Councillor Toynton?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Would this item not be something better to debate once the tenders come back, and then we can have this discussion and say, do we fund it at this amount, where someone might say, hey, we can do it for extremely cheap or extremely expensive or somewhere right down the middle. I think this would be one of those debates to have when the item comes up. It wouldn't be fair to any tenderer that says, okay, well, we've put this tender out and now council's saying, oh, well, you originally said you were going to spend this amount of money, but now we're moving the goalposts. I just think this might be jumping the gun, so I'll vote against this motion.
Yep, that the motion be put. Is there anyone else for and against? Move that the motion be put. Seconded. Right, all those in favour of the motion being put, please. All right, carried unanimously. Right, we're going to put the current item that's up on the screen there as point 5. Please cast your vote. Please open the vote.
The mover still has right of reply when you motion.
Councillor Richardson, do you right of reply to anything there on this one?
No, not really. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Please open the voting. That is Councillor Richardson, Councillor Dickerson. Before we close it off, righto. Okay, so the amendment is lost 1 vote to 8. So now we go back to what we've got so far. Continue debate on which will come up on the screen in a second. Back on our amended. I think we had an amendment get up, didn't we? Any further debate, councillors, on all of the things so far? Right, governance, can we just have when you get...
There was one more.
Hang on. Wait till we'll get the actual, what we've got so far up on the screen so we all know where we're up to. As soon as governance get that tidied up. Your computer things going on. The screen's frozen, but we'll just let governance get that sorted out at the moment, so then we all know exactly where we're up to. Righto. So whilst governance is... Oh, there we go. That's all we needed. No, not exactly. Anyway, it's what's there plus the... There it is. Thank you very much, governance, for that. Much appreciated. Debate continues on the motion as per up on the screen there. Is there any further debate on that?
No.
It's just with the amendment added in that became the motion on the sale yards. Councillor Ivey, got your hand up.
A question, Mr. Mayor. Does that, so we've gone to 30 cents a head with 3% annual increment, but yet in April we're reviewing the process. So I mean, I'll be happy to, well, wouldn't be happy. I will support the 30 cents, but I don't think that we need to lock in a 3% adjustment now when we've also got an idea that we're going to review it in April. Don't we just take out the 3% annual and review it in April? Sorry?
So that's all right, Councillor. So that's as the motion as it stands at the moment with that amendment. So that'll be 30 cents a head for the next 12 months, and then a report will come back to council as per point 5 in April, and then we can make any change we want when it comes back to the budget process next year. When's the draft budget come, and then we can make any change in the budget process in 12 months' time. Could say any percent, but we're going to vote on it next year. Right. Further debate, councillors. Councillor Butler got his mic on.
Yeah, more questions again. I know part of the budget includes the React Centre, and so I just wanted to ask a few questions about that, if that's okay.
Yep.
So I was wondering if there's been an RTO as a registered training organisation. Has that been investigated and identified? What courses would be run? Units of competency delivered? Has any consideration been given to accommodation, the life of the building itself, depreciation? I'm assuming that's in there, and be the cost to council over the life of the building. So I've got a few questions there for you. Let's start with the first few. Let's say if we just start with the first three there, the RTO and the courses run, competencies delivered, and then we'll do some more in a minute.
All right, thank you. So I'll scribble down to the general manager. That was, I think, the RTO, the courses delivered, the competencies, and there was cost and depreciation in there as well. I scribbled down. General manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, we'll go to Director of Strategy, Partnerships and Engagement for the first part of the question, and then further to Director of Organisational Performance for the latter half, where we do have some capital and depreciation, we know, but we haven't worked on any operating costs as part of this budget process, and directors will explain.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question. In relation to RTOs that have been investigated, so Dubbo Regional Council has been in conversations with many RTOs as well as private organisations who deliver industry training since the project's inception. DRC hosts a REACT training collective of around 25 organisations comprising training organisations, proponents and other parts of the training sector like the Department of Education. And the operating model for the centre is currently being developed, and it's likely that a number of training organisations will use the centre to deliver education and training once complete. In terms of the courses that will be run, in our conversations to date, there is a mix of Australian Skills Quality Authority, ASQA units, micro-credentials, skill sets and longer courses, along with internationally recognised learning for specific industries. We will know more detail about those courses that the RTOs and other training providers will deliver as the work progresses. And then in consideration for accommodation for the people who come to be trained at the centre, people attending those short courses will be a mix of people living or employed already within the res and those coming in from outside the res for training, the development of the operating model and subsequent expression of interest process to deliver training from the centre will inform how many people would need accommodation to support their training, and then we can go from there as to how we provide the accommodation. To be clear, the centre is unlikely to run courses that go for sort of 6 months, years as per, and deliver certificate level courses.
Right, thank you. Councillor Butler, does that answer those?
Just maybe another question then. Is there a, it doesn't appear to be anyway that there's a lot of detail. Is there a final business case for this React Centre that actually makes those sort of details clear?
General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A business case was prepared in support of the grant application. It was needed a lot more work on it, and that's what the organisation is presently working on, as to a suitable firm who will be able to conduct that and answer some of those questions that you're asking.
Thank you. Any further debate, councillors, on the motion as it stands up on the screen? If there's none, we go back to the mover of the original motion, Councillor Richardson, for a right of reply.
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll put that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Let the refresh mine. That's carried 7 votes to 2. Next item is 10.7, local government boundary alteration between Dubbo Regional Council and Mid-Western Regional Council. Do I have a councillor to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Wright. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll put that. Please open the voting. Carried unanimously. Next item is 10.8, Local Government Remuneration Tribunal Annual Determination 2026-2027. I'm happy to move that one. Is there a seconder? Councillor Toynton. I don't wish to speak to that. Any councillors, any debate? There being none, we'll put that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. 10.9, Council Policy for Adoption Risk Management Policy. Do I have a councillor to move that, please? Councillor Ivey, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Ivey, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, we'll put that. Please open the voting. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. Next, we have questions on notice. First up is 11.1, effective Victoria Pass closure on the Dubbo local government area, from Councillor Toynton, and a response provided. Is there any clarifying questions on that one? Councillor Ivey?
Just make a comment. I understand that the government...
Oh, you only allowed clarifying questions.
Oh. Okay, no. Okay. I'll stop.
All right, thank you. Next up, 11.2, derelict or disused buildings in the local government area. We now have before us a question on notice from Councillor Toynton with the response provided. Are there any clarifying questions on that one? No. 11.3, power of attorney, general manager. We now have before us a question on notice from Councillor Dickerson with the response provided. Are there any clarifying questions? Councillor Dickerson.
I've got two broad clarifying questions, Mr. Mayor, if I may. If the 13th of March resolution provided sufficient authority for the Mayor to sign the power of attorney for it to become valid on the 25th of May, why was Council's endorsement sought on the 26th of May after the power of attorney had already become effective? And conversely, if Council's endorsement was necessary, how could the power of attorney already been valid on the 25th of May, the day before Council endorsed it? That's question number one.
The General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. I guess the reason for the resolution being put again and tidy, formalised, was because we had the actual book numbers at that stage, and it was an opportune time for us to inform those. With respect to the second half of the question, Manager of Governance, did you take note of that?
just to check in regards to the endorsement of the power of attorney. Yes. Just an additional layer of transparency. We were revoking the outgoing power of attorney for Mr. Ryan. An additional level of transparency.
Councillor Dickerson, question?
I know I can't debate it, so I won't make any comment on those comments. The second question was, at the council meeting on the 26th of May, I asked twice whether the power of attorney was in place prior to council considering the matter, and on both occasions you advised there was not. Given the response to the question on notice confirms the power of attorney was valid on the 25th of May, how is your advice reconciled with the fact that the power of attorney was already in force before the 26th of May meeting when you said it wasn't in force?
So it looks to me that there's two interpretations open. Ultimately, the staff's view is that once the book number came through, it was a contrary view that I expressed. I accept that advice. Ultimately, it's completely academic and what we're talking about here today. Further questions?
Well, it's not academic. I don't think. I think there was.
No, that's a statement, not a question.
Sorry. Okay.
Clarifying questions on the answers provided by the staff.
So I am asking you whether or not your understanding was that the power of attorney was in place the day before the council meeting on the 26th of May.
So I'd defer to the staff advice in the answers provided.
Thank you.
Comments and matters of urgency we move on to now. Councillor Dickerson will go around this way for something different first.
I'm fine this month, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Toynton.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quickly. I've been a bit wounded and injured through repeated horse riding activities, which I shall not cease to do, despite a broken finger and dislocated one. But I did attend a function organised by Scott Wilkinson, who was in the public gallery since left, at Wellington to revitalise Wellington as part of his newly formed Wellington Action Group. So a lot of good feedback there. It was a really great night up at Hermitage Hill. I'll thank Lee Thompson and his staff for hosting us up there. And also, just to note the great work of Wellington Rotary Club in their 89th year of operation. I attended their Rotary changeover dinner with other councillors. Councillor Butler and Councillor Ivey were there. It was a really great night. And I think that's pretty much it for this month. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Butler.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate that it was a good, the Rotary function was excellent, and I think all appreciate it, and they do a great job, so a bit of a shout out to Rotary for that. It's wonderful to see a group of people who are pretty much dedicated to the service of others. I'm quite encouraged by it all. So I wanted to thank Rotary and the invitation. It was also, Councillor Ivey was there as well, so that was a really good thing. The other one was an incredible bit of good news, and I guess it's just me, but the International Panel for Climate Change just admitted that their RCP 8.5, which is what they based all their alarmist climate models on, was actually overturned and was known, well, they admitted that it was actually false. So climate change is over. So I just wanted you to celebrate with me and realise that we don't have to worry about it anymore, that we don't really read renewables anymore and all that sort of stuff. So enjoy. The world isn't about to blow up, and we can look forward to quite a decent future, especially with coal and nuclear to help us. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's a bit hard act to follow, but anyway, I'd just like to a bit of information. Councillors may remember that some time ago we had a resolution to write to the early proponents of solar panels in Wellington, namely the Wellington and Wellington North solar panel farm and the Suntop solar farm, asking that they consider retrospectively making some community benefit contribution. I gather Canadian Solar one is still in the offering, perhaps, or still to be negotiated, perhaps still to be offered. But with the Wellington North and Wellington Solar Farm, that was really skittled because Lightsource BP, the owners who we wrote to asking that they make a community benefit, sold on to, I can't remember how you pronounce it, Aula, A-U-L-A, and they have announced, put out a flyer just in the last couple of days that they were going to put in an application to develop a battery storage on the land occupied by the old soil conservation station, which we hope we might be able to get for some other community benefit. But so I think that opportunity is lost, but perhaps when we come to negotiate a VPA with them and also some of the other terms and conditions of their development, we may have the application to put the opportunity rather to put a fair bit of pressure on them. So I gather that's going to be a process over the next 12 or 18 months, but just as a heads up that over that period, this council will be and the staff will be negotiating with them for a VPA on that land, if not for the original solar farm, at least for the subsequent battery development. So hopefully some good may come of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
No, not for me, this one. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was very excited to see on the news the other night that the Bush Summit is coming to Dubbo on the 26th and 27th of August. Not so excited to see that Anthony Albanese will be here, but I think it might be a really good opportunity for the community to voice their opinions, and it's been sponsored by Hancock Prospecting, who sponsors them all. And I just think it's a really good opportunity for them to come out and see what this area is actually like and the dramas and the traumas that we're going through at the moment. And maybe use it as a little bit of a wake-up call that they actually need to spend a bit more time out this way.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I just want to take this moment to give a bit of a shout out to our council guys that are on the ground, and in particular the Wellington water gang. Actually, like I've been driving around town a fair bit in the last couple of weeks, and you know, every time I see these blokes, they're knee deep in water in this cold weather, and they just keep they just soldier on with their jobs and whatnot, with the call outs with the water breaks and the testing of the the meters and whatnot. So it just come to my mind that every time I see them, they're into it. So I just wanted to show a bit of recognition to these fellas and say, well done. You're doing good.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury.
No, all good. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I'll just say very quickly, the Bush Summit, I'm trying to get a short meeting with all the councillors, like 20 minutes, half hour with the Prime Minister, if at all possible, for a small meet the councillors. As Councillor Ryan was saying about the sewer and water, look, I don't know, I didn't understand until I started on council just how much goes into keeping the sewer and water going. Every time you flush your toilet or turn your tap on, it works. Well done to all the crews there. This month is Bowel Cancer Awareness Month. I was invited by Councillor Chowdhury to the Bangladesh Association Health Summit on the weekend. Very successful, very well attended, and got the opportunity there in my little intro speech to just remind everyone that it is Bowel Cancer Awareness Month and everyone should be regularly getting their bowel scan done. And the Bowls New South Wales has brought the state championships to Dubbo for the 2.5 weeks. There'll be more than 900 bowlers here, so thousands of people cycling through town, and including the Para Bowls, which was on the last couple of days. I think it concludes tomorrow or the next day at the Old Railway Bowling Club, which is now known as Sporties, where the Dubbo City Bowling Club now bowls. And it was really good there the other day to see all of the para bowlers, including some who are going to the Commonwealth Games in a few weeks' time. So a great event for Dubbo, and well done to everyone that's been involved in putting that on, noting that Council is a significant sponsor of that event. Next, we have confidential matters. The next items for consideration are deemed to be confidential Under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the next items, being 13.1 through to 13.7, have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of Council. Can I now have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential items? Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Wright. We've had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether a meeting should be closed to the public, and they're all gone, so I don't have to read that bit. I'll now open the electronic voting on going into confidential session. Please cast your votes. Carried unanimously. I declare the motion carried unanimously. We'll now move into closed session, the time being 8:05 p.m. The streaming will be turned off and any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on these matters of the resolutions to be made public. Please stop the web streaming. The council returned to open session at 8:20 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the governance officer to play the resolutions from the confidential session. There are no further items for consideration of the ordinary council meeting, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 8:22 p.m. The web streaming is now being completed. Thank you for your attendance. Please stop the web streaming.